will have to favour him, and we'll see. It's more interesting to see what he comes up with than if he's going to win or lose a lot of the time. So let's have a look at these picks and bans, guys.
I mean, yeah, so we're looking at the picks here. Corrupted Keep starting off first. Rapha going in with the Keel, and it's always interesting to see Rapha go with Keel in more maps than you would often see more consistently. But it's going to be going up against the BJ all the same. So if Psygib's LG is on form, that's going to be quite dangerous going up against Keel. Awoken, the Athena versus the Anarchy. Interesting to see the Death Knight removed that early. And then Veil of Nath as the decider. It's just Sorlag, the tankiness, the damage, the way Rapha approaches this map, which is always ridiculous. I think he's got some decent picks here.
Also interesting to see that Scalebearer ban come off right off the bat on Rapha's end, because he knows what Psygib can do with that champion. We've seen some extreme games with Psygib running the Scalebearer. I think it wasn't on Corrupted Key, but on Bloodrun is one that just completely stands out for me from Quake back in the day. So good ban from Rapha there. He clearly knows how dangerous his opponent is on that champ.
Keel on Corrupted is really interesting. I can't even remember if I've seen Keel on that map at this kind of level before. So yeah, it's so not a confusing pick. I mean, Rapha obviously has a clear strategy up his hand, or wants to attempt a strategy, but it's more of a respect pick, if anything, against Psygib.
It is interesting as well, actually. That DK ban that you touched on, Ryan, I do wonder if that is kind of the fact that I think we actually did see one of the few times they faced off before DK come out from Rapha. He loves pulling him out as a bit of a cheeky champion pick at finals as well. And we've actually seen him be one of probably the better players that ever really has graced the server with a Death Knight. For some reason, he seems to make it seem like it's actually comparable in a competitive environment compared to anyone else. So it's a curious one, but it's an interesting ban nonetheless.
But I mean, we're moments away from loading in now. As I consult the feed, we should be going in a few minutes' time. Going in with one hell of a sort of back and forth. But I mean, the underlying point here is that Rapha, all eyes are on him to see how he fares in this online setting. That's potentially going to be the biggest thing that could really hold him back, is when it's time to bring it to land. He always does, and he did more than that at the Stage 2 finals. But now we kind of have these different circumstances. Does potentially give some players an opportunity to maybe be a bit more comfortable, or maybe, dare I say, catch Rapha being a bit more uncomfortable. So likely to see a 2-0. I think a lot of other people agree here, even though it is Psygib, and Psygib's great, but I mean, Rapha's the champ for a reason, right?
Yeah, you have to be better than great to beat Rapha. And let's get into the game then. Corrupted Keep will be your first map. Ryan, Flea, strap in for this one, and let's see what madness Shane can bring out today.
Absolutely. Just a quick update though. Vangur versus Razy fighting to stay in the tournament. It's almost an 8-minute overtime on run control, constantly changing. So definitely got to keep an eye on that game as well. But first and foremost, here is the matchup on the mainstream. We've got Psygib, we've got Rapha, the BJ with the dual wield, so that's a lot of damage coming out against a big target like Keel could help Psygib a lot. But on the other hand, the stack and the grenades, we know that Rapha loves it.
And I'll never get tired of watching Rapha's Keel. Gets caught a little bit by some LG damage all the way through. Psygib's going to chase, but the immediate brawl, the brawl of Corrupted Keep, Psygib is going to take out Rapha for that first frag. Such a snowball-heavy map. Might be a little bit trickier to do that with the giant stack that the heavies normally bring to the table. Rapha, all he needs to do is get one weapon, die hard. 1 HP left in the tank. But even then, the Mega, after being on 1 HP, Rapha's just spawned, and just look at the stack difference. It's a huge element that Keel will bring to this kind of matchup.
It looks like Psygib also has absolutely no clue of when the heavy is up. He even went all the way over there to take a look, realizing it wasn't there, so he knows nothing right now. The defensive rockets have to be good. Got only 50 points of health to work with, and Rapha is just going to leave him be. And this is one of the most impressive things of Rapha. He just backs up slightly, knowing exactly where his opponent is, knowing that Psygib has nowhere to run or hide, and then he pushes in at the exact same time to minimize the amount of damage he's going to take. And that is exactly why our Professor is such a top-tier contender.
Brilliant opening damage. Rapha gets caught by Psygib, all the same. Bit of a funky exchange there. But there's a new layer sort of introduced with this kind of matchup for Psygib, because he has to make sure he's staying on top of the items and that he's not staying too weak. But even after he gets a frag, there's a lot of pressure to adapt, because remember with this Keel too, Rapha's grenades! We should see a frag for Psygib here. Rapha's grenades are absolutely fantastic. So if he spawns and gets even one single weapon, it's actually similar to a Veil of Nath situation that if Psygib's caught out of position, even after getting a frag, Rapha will punish him with minimal weapons. As long as he's got grenades, he can do the damage.
Absolutely. So far, though, I don't think the grenades have looked that impressive on Rapha's end. There were a few situations, actually both of the times he died, where it looked like he was expecting so much more damage to come out, but it ultimately didn't. And now, raining down some damage on Psygib, but he's taking a fair bit of a beating himself. Mega's about to sign. Psygib will be the first one on it. Can he live long enough? Looks like Rapha will snatch it away right in front of his nose. Good heavy machine gun, though, from Psygib. There's a nice delay between the two major items though, so Psygib unable to immediately jump onto the item, and Rapha's going to maneuver himself around the map perfectly, knowing exactly when the item spawns. He can cut off Psygib and again starve his opponent of the resources. Really clever place right there.
And there's definitely enough time in between the two items that if Rapha can secure a frag soon, Psygib did try and spring a trap, but he couldn't quite. Just in time for the Mega to spawn. Look at the delay in between the two. So if Rapha is able to kind of keep those claws locked into the map, he has a lot of the kind of map available to him. Kind of suffocate Psygib. Heavy's about to spawn, and understandably that's going to be Rapha's next objective. And I'm curious to see how Psygib kind of reaches that next layer here, because Rapha has that control established, and we've seen time and time again what that means.
I feel like that was a bit of a missed opportunity for Psygib though. Rapha was left at 13 points of health. Just that little. And he did manage to stack up right away, whereas Psygib spawned with a decent stack and the dual wield at the ready. So I do think that Psygib could have made more of that situation. Maybe just rushed his opponent off the spawn and got another frag quite easily. Turns out that that was not the case though, as Rapha is just continuing to expand his lead for the time being.
Psygib's playing that runaway game so far. Has to be so careful this early, fresh off spawn. Can't go for these close range confrontations because Keel will win them. He's getting some respectable damage from range actually. More than enough damage, Rapha. Left licking his wounds, and considering he's just collected the Mega, that's not a bad time at all for Psygib to score a frag.
Absolutely not, and I think that kind of ties into what I just said earlier, right? Rapha just not quite getting the results with the grenades that he might be hoping for. He pushed in, just shooting them off at Psygib, next to no damage to come out of it though, and then all of a sudden his entire stack is depleted, and Psygib is just going to finish him off. Rapha screamingly low, and that rocket will take care of him. Mega is up. Who will get there first? Rapha will be the one to pick up the item, and the rockets, and the LG.
That sucks.
Yeah, he absolutely gets the triple package, the supreme combo. And now Psygib is the one who's got to be careful because he's got so little to work with, trying to go for the defensive nails. And oh my goodness, is this LAN, Ryan? Are we somehow playing on one ping? Because usually nail guns like that is not something you see online, but Psygib making it work. Still one frag in the lead right now.
But this is the element that we had just talked about, where a Keel fresh off the spawn, especially in the hands of Rapha, that the moment they appear, you still need to be careful. That was a really nice placed rocket from Psygib. But Psygib had just tried to establish some momentum, I suppose. And then the grenades come out. Good rocket. Psygib scores another frag, and he keeps the timing on the heavy, which is really important. He really needs to make sure he's controlling the heavy in this match because, again, we always have to go back to that spawning stack and how much longer it will take to secure a frag. Look how much armor Rapha consistently spawns with. That one hurt. Yep. If Psygib gives up too much of the heavy, I think it's going to be really hard to just simply outstack someone in a fight. The dual wield is going to come through again, and this is a great start for Psygib. Rapha has a decent little chunk of work to do. If Psygib can keep this solid rotation going with this kind of delay in between the two items, it's kind of his best case scenario to win this map. Rapha just needs one opportunity to turn things around. We've seen it time and time again. Psygib is really doing everything he can to prevent that so far.
I also really like that Psygib decided to leave up the small armor right there. He had a way of getting to it before Rapha, but he realized that in doing so, he would open up a nice pathway for his opponent to get on heavy instead. So instead, he allowed Rapha to pick up the small armor, and he took the main prize, the heavy, away from his opponent. This time around, though, Rapha's setting up a nice rotation. Mega first, heavy afterwards, around 15 seconds between the two. Psygib's hurting. Rapha is not going to be deterred by those defensive rockets. Few of them will connect. And it will be Rapha adding another point to his score. 3 frags down, 3.5 minutes to go. Psygib definitely not in the clear just yet. And this is exactly what we usually talk about, right? Rapha might start off at the deficit, but once that engine starts running and he really revs the gears, you're in a bad shape.
Keeping my eyes on the timers too, because once again, it's not like the items are spawning at the same time, which really is just going to spell bad news for Psygib. He's getting some decent defensive damage, but there's so many lights around. Psygib backs up for a little bit of a... maybe expecting Rapha to chase around the other way, but either way, 8 to 10. A comeback that's more than likely for Rapha. He's definitely come back from worse in the past. Keeping the timing on the items, keeping that stack up to mammoth amounts. Psygib, great rocket. There's a massive emphasis on landing those rockets before Rapha can engage. He cannot allow Rapha to push with the stack that he's currently working on, because look, he looks at you, you go down, and he has stack to work with still. The timing on the Mega, perfect, ready to go again. Happy that he can take the fight, can sit down and take it again, starve away these lights. And although it looked like Psygib was in a pretty comfortable lead, I suppose, it's now starting to fall through his fingers because Rapha's just keeping the momentum. And this is what he does almost every time we see him play at a finals. Rapha gets his hooks into the match, and you just cannot take him away from it.
This is just exactly the kind of situation that Rapha thrives in. He has a perfect rotation on both of the major items, and when it's a smaller map like Corrupted Keep, all he's going to do is gonna run from one to the other and maybe take a slight little detour just to see if he can mess with you a bit, and maybe even deny small armor. He's been doing a lot of that. Even though he's in control, he'll take a fight with Psygib, incur a bit of damage himself, but he does so strategically so he can continue denying those small armors as well. Good little grenade come out. Psygib still looking decently healthy, and the aim on Psygib has to be perfect right here. The shoddy hurts, but not enough, as Rapha gets that 1 frag lead with just over a minute to go. Psygib, crunch time is now.
However, all things considered, Rapha being really patient in the center of the map, really, I think, sniffing out the fear. He knows the pressure's on Psygib. If he just sits around and listens to him, opportunity to get some damage before Psygib even if it has a chance to. Again, you have to keep an eye on the stacks during a fight that's about to break out. Rapha's in a good position for the Mega. There's a lot of pressure on Psygib, who is not even close to interested in taking that one. But there's such a huge delay in between the Mega. Actually, you know what? Doubling back and putting himself in position for a heavy machine gun, that was a pretty tidy play, because now Rapha has to go for the light, and Psygib's just taken himself the heavy. That wasn't a bad shout at all.
Not at all, and I also love the rocket jump to get out of that bottom area right there near the heavy machine gun. Rapha, though, in control of the center area of the map, will boost Psygib up the bounce, but with some painful LG. Now he's set to take Mega as well. Psygib, he's got to start taking this fight. He's got 15 seconds left, but Rapha's stack is just enormous. Can he do anything? He knows he can't leave Rapha right now. He has to keep dishing out the damage.
Hang on.
Hang on, this might actually work, and Psygib, with a second to go, lands the LG he needs, but he's in a bad shape right now.
Can he capitalize on this? The danger is that he had to lick his wounds while Rapha collects a heavy. He's been able to save his own skin, and we are entering sudden death, but it's still a scary position. And straight off that Mega, I fear for Psygib. I am not convinced he might not be able to survive. Look how low he is. That one defensive rocket to kind of put that wall up in front of Rapha. He stays alive, but is he just delaying the inevitable at this point? He is so weak. However, a couple of good rockets, maybe one direct. Oh, it's not gonna do it. He made that one damn close, but not enough at the end of the day. Look at how deadlocked they were, but the damage that Psygib managed to output there was kind of crazy.
Absolutely. Psygib, his aim was superb. He did 1,000 more damage than Rapha and still ended up on the losing end of this matchup. But still, I think that this is not such a bad result for Psygib to start with, right? You're playing Rapha, the single best player in the world right now, and you managed to keep it to such a close game. A few better rockets towards the end could have changed the entire thing. So Psygib absolutely can't let this get to him. He's got to continue to focus and bring it to the next map as well. Meanwhile, Rapha, I think he might not be feeling entirely happy with his performance right there. His grenades, as I was saying for most of the game, really didn't feel on point to me. Of course, he only has one shot at using them and now has to switch to his second pick, which is the Athena. But still, overall, Psygib's combat skills were looking mighty scary, and I think Rapha might be a bit concerned with that moving into the next map.
It's not every day you can make Rapha sweat like that, and it's kind of like you said, Rapha's likely to be kind of unhappy with that. You always know there's a little bit of Rapha when a game is that close that he's a little bit unsatisfied with anyway. The striving for perfection, as he always tends to. But like you said, we're going into a new map now. Regardless of how those grenades looked, we're going to shake it off and move on to Awoken, which is going to be high octane just by the picks alone. Athena versus Anarchy. Two players that aren't shy of magicness with these two picks. And Rapha has often looked so good on Awoken that he's kind of set up for success all the same.
Yeah.
It's a great map for him to just, like we've always said, lock himself in, and that's kind of the end of it.
And I mean, I think this really just showcased the difference of styles. Rapha won this map entirely on control. If you just look at the item pickups, Psygib had 3 megas, Rapha had 17. So moving on to the next map, Psygib definitely has to focus on that. Is to keep that in mind. That is oh so important that he cannot let Rapha run away with the items, because even if you're out damaging him and you're winning the fights and you're doing most of the pain, still, if Rapha can just zip away using that Athena hook and grab himself all the items he needs, you're still going to be the one losing the map. So clearly, focusing on control and countering those item pickups will be key to victory if Psygib even wants to have as much as a chance.
Just a quick update for those that are still not watching the Quake 2 stream between Wenger and Razy, currently 1-1, and they're on the final map. Looks like Wenger is quite significantly in the lead. And this is alarming for Razy. Not going to touch on it too much on the primary stream, but as the matches get incredibly heated and tense, it's a good time to have 2 streams open if you can. The matches are getting incredibly sweaty.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll touch upon Razy's faith no matter what later today. But for now, all eyes and ears will be on the match ahead of us. We've got Psygib, we've got Rapha, 2 of the American grades going up against each other in the winner brackets of the North American side of the tournament. Starting things off on Rapha's point of view.
Now this is a lot of pressure on Psygib. This was always going to be a tricky challenge for him, going up against the likes of Rapha. If he's able to make things 1-1, reset that momentum just a little bit. It was down to the absolute wire until the last second. Psygib getting what was nearly a miraculous comeback. It's a lot of mental strength goes into even making a single map go that way. So have to refresh things. As we can see now, Rapha with all of the important weapons good to go. And now it's a game of that first frag. The patience that we often see in those opening moments. There's that verticality and just the trick. Little jumps that you can get built in thanks to the hook. I'm never going to get tired of seeing that mobility. And that rail hitting its mark is going to stop Psygib's aggression. Like a wall. He was thinking about going in, but the moment that rail hit, now we're out of there forever.
Yeah, and that's of course one of the many strengths of Athena, not just the verticality, but also that horizontal speed boost that you can get by using it at a tight angle, and that's exactly what Rapha's been doing just to catch up with Psygib. Also love seeing some of the actual swings come out with the hook. You see them far too infrequently in my opinion, but they can be such a powerful tool in your arsenal. As Rapha is now starting to establish control. Perfect split between the items, 15 seconds between Mega and Heavy. And Rapha right now already looking good. Doesn't want to push through the choke point. Definitely the smart decision because he knows he's got so many resources behind him. Some health bubbles, the Heavy, all he needs.
But Rapha is still going to use that opportunity to get himself the Heavy. And as we can now see, Mega is about to spawn. Rapha definitely in the better position. And even worse because of that 100 damage rocket. Even though Anarchy has that better air movement, still going to get caught by that rather free rail that Rapha can enforce. Tricky position if you're in Psygib's shoes. Yeah, really I think banking on that rail missing so he can get out of dodge safely, but the moment that rail connects, it just puts him behind. Psygib now has to be so careful. That rail just short of a kill shot that would have been, absolutely. Rapha, you mentioned control earlier. It looks like he is in full control right now as Heavy's going to get taken. There's the speed. Absolutely good use of this grappling hook means that Rapha will outspeed Anarchy in a lot of situations if we're talking about chasing and repositioning. Psygib's not going to have that kind of trump card that Anarchy's might be used to.
I also absolutely love how much Rapha is denying. At the end of the game in the lobby, you even saw Psygib tell his opponent, please leave me some items. Rapha have absolutely none of that. Every single time he's close to one of the small armors, he deals a bit of self-damage with a rocket or the nail gun, just so that Psygib won't be able to retrieve the item later. And it's helping him so much because Psygib is struggling to even get a single foothold into the map. Beautiful rockets once again from Rapha, as he's already 4 frags up, barely 3 minutes into the game. Now Psygib, he knows that Rapha has got pretty weak after that last engagement, wants to make something happen here, definitely gets the best of that situation, but unable to close it out. And Rapha using that hook so beautifully, stealing 1 item and immediately getting position on the heavy as well.
I think that's one of those situations where Psygib says, please leave me some items, and Rapha just replies in all lowercase with, no lol. And now, oh, he's waiting for it, and he gets it. The perfect patience from Rapha. Just content, and he knows just some self-damage as well. Why not? He was close to death, though. That trade would have been probably best case scenario for Psygib, but not going to happen. Uh-oh, they trade rails.
Doesn't have the hook ready just yet,
doesn't.
and Psygib will still fall. You could see Rapha was looking upwards, tried to hook his way out on there, not giving an angle. Psygib came to peek around the corner with the railgun, but the rockets at close quarters won it out for Rapha. What map awareness is that? Beautiful, right? Rapha just glancing and knowing instantly he's 87 points of health, so he's barely railable, and he just takes a few steps back, picks up a small bubble, and puts himself over that threshold. But it's Psygib, though, getting the next track. 1-7, a lot of work cut out for him.
There's going to be that tricky element of a Rapha fresh off the spawn who can still move at 1,000,000 miles an hour and get the resources that he needs. I think it might be a little bit trickier for Psygib to kind of establish that snowball effect on Rapha with the movement the way that it is. There is a lot of work to do, and here's that defensive play again. A perfect combo, rocket into rail. That really shows confidence in Rapha's call out somewhere you're going to be. And so far, rail, that would have been a painful one to get hit by. Making it 1-7. This is a lot of work for Psygib, and as I mentioned, that there's going to be even more of it to do. 8-1 right now. We've already hit that 5-minute warning halfway through things. Rapha, a commanding lead versus Psygib. It was so close in map number 1, and this is an opportunity for Psygib to try so desperately to even things out. The Mega's there, but it's nowhere to be found. Not for 15 seconds, but there still maintains a chunky delay in between the 2 items. And Rapha, as you would expect, is in a better position to take it. Is he going to concede? Yep, he doesn't really care because the Mega's there and he can take that happily.
These are some amazing shots coming out of Rapha. I still remember the days that people were like, yeah, Rapha, he's got the brains, he's got the game sense, but his aim, he might already be basically the best player in the world, but his aim isn't quite up there yet with some of the other contenders. But look at the kind of shots he's hitting now. This is absolutely ridiculous. And Rapha, his railgun is punishing Psygib over and over. And you can see, Rapha, he knows that his aim is on with the rail, and he's using it as much as he possibly can to just soften up his opponent. And then he either uses the hook to get out if things go sour, as they did, or he pushes in aggressively and finishes it off anyways. Beautiful plays all around.
For the most part, any other champion pick in that position would likely have gone down to Psygib. Rapha, the tactical selection of the Athena, knowing that he can get out of those tricky situations and not only get away, but secure a frag. Making it 10-1 Flea. Rapha's Athena is such a treat to watch at every single turn, making it look almost impossible for Psygib to just establish himself.
This is such a tall order for Psygib. What can he do to break Rapha's control? He's getting out-aimed, he's getting out-positioned. Rapha, once again, set for a beautiful rotation, and there's just nothing that his opponent appears to be able to do about it. Look at that, rail after rail after rail. Psygib even barely dodging that one right there. And another one, it just doesn't stop. I'm surprised that Psygib hasn't just dropped his mouse and his keyboard and just said, you know what, it doesn't matter. Wherever I go, I'm going to get hit no matter what. Because Rapha, he has tasted blood and he just wants more of it now.
That was just a dreadful position for Psygib to even be in the first place. There is a heavy. ready to take, and Psygib does not want to challenge it because, I mean, he can't. He simply can't do it. He's just respawned. That's a cute little trick jump. I love seeing that one, but you do worry, Flea, have we reached that point? I mean, there's 10 frags to go. To even get one frag on Rapha, you've got to stunt this momentum that he is riding until the end. You got to get 10 frags to even make things even. I'm about willing to call this map.
Pretty much by now, there's next to nothing that Psygib can still do. He's got one frag up to Rapha's 11 with 2 minutes left on a map like Awoken. It's just over and done with, and I think this is the outcome that everyone was already expecting. Psygib, he put up a good fight on map 1, but ultimately, when it came down to it, Rapha just has that class, the game sense, the aim. He's the total package, and it's so difficult for anyone to as much as put a dent into this.
All of the hallmarks of the world's greatest current Quake Champions player at the end of the day, and he's putting it into perfect practice. Psygib's position, you can only assume he's just trying to reflect. He has got the rest of the tournament to get through. Rapha was always going to be a tough opponent, and you know, this is very much the safe bet, what has happened today. So I can only assume it's not going to affect Psygib too much. These are just some bonus frags now, just for the highlight reel, but GG's all round. Rapha's going to take a 2-0 victory on Psygib in this upper bracket, looking as good as we all knew he would.
Yeah, of course, this is a double elimination tournament. Psygib is not out of the tournament just yet. He's still got plenty of shots to stay in and win big. But this series will definitely go to the one and only Liquid Rapha. Psygib still landing a few nice shots towards the end, but it is too little, too late. And this one will definitely go down favoring Rapha.
Even near the end of times when Psygib is just trying to snowball a couple of frags, he can't. He does get a fantastic rocket actually at the end, but Rapha makes nothing easy, even last minute bonus frags. The aggression comes on, Rapha gets one final kill. Might get one or two more before this map is done, but like we said, victory lap at the end of the day. Rapha has played phenomenally today, and he will be moving on very comfortably.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Liquid. Both of their players so far putting up really good performances, as of course we're used to seeing, right? The Hang and Rapha, they have for so long now been the indisputable top 2 players in the Americas, and clearly they have no intentions of slowing down anytime soon.
I mean, what else can you really say about that series besides, I mean, especially that map 2, that Rapha was the expected victor, and he put into practice exactly what everyone expected, which is just everything done right. And from such an early point that when he had that rock-solid level of control early, where he just had all the items, and, you know, even mentioned it himself, Psygib, please give me some items this time. No, lol. It's all about just keeping him off, and really at no point for the whole 10 minutes, Psygib had pretty much no presence. But that's just what Rapha does to you. It's the Rapha effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you have it. Rapha, I mean, he was sweating. He looked mortal, at least on the opener, on keep. There was moments where it seemed like maybe Psygib was going to be able to do some damage and get a victory under his belt, try and deny the undefeated streak from happening again at a Quake final. But no, it wasn't meant to be. It was just a brief dream in the end. Rapha bites back and bit back hard. Dan, take it away. I can't speak.
What did he do?
He bit back really hard.
He bit back, bit back.
All right, yes.
Really Yeti for a bite back, my word.
My goodness.
What I'll say is probably that's the most vulnerable we've seen Rapha in a long, long time. I mean, he lost a map against the Hang recently. He nearly lost a map against Psygib. So, and I didn't think the kill pick really paid dividends. Like, I understand the logic, but it was vulnerable. And so that's, I guess, the first warning signs we've seen that, as you rightly said, he is mortal and he might not be undefeated this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we've got some interesting happenings on the B stream.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, Razy will have exited the tournament already, losing 2-1 to Vancouver. And I think the regret is probably starting to sitting in for him picking Cypher or Toxic as his first matchup when he could have gone with any of the relegation games. So Razy won't be around for the finals day, that's for sure.
That is a absolute shocker, but I'm not going to really touch on it too much because the last thing I want to do is make the poor guy feel worse. You know he's going to be disappointed, ultimately. But You understand why he made the choice, because he is naturally so confident in his opponents, right? He's confident he can beat anyone. It just so happens that today has been an on-fire day for Cypher. And unfortunately, the consequences of that is it's played out. But also, congratulations to Wenger. I know he's going to be very happy with that result, and he still is gunning for a top spot all the same.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think Razy or anyone would have expected Cypher to be as good as he has been this tournament. Plus, I think if Toxic would have beat Cypher, I would have put my money on Razy every day to beat Tox. So, I mean, there was obviously logic there, but as you rightly said, it was probably the wisest move to pick Cypher, and losing against Wenger, not unexpected either. I don't think Razy looked up to it against Cypher either, so it wasn't the best Razy for sure we've seen this tournament, but it was a good performance by Rapha, if not the best. So we have, at the moment, the best players going through, which is what you would expect.
Yeah, of course, coming off the back of that win, Rapha will now go into the North American final, and Psygib falls back down to the lower bracket. His run alive. He stats in the end though, the kill pick coming in clutch in the last few seconds of the opening game, and Athena just doing what she does best, building a ridiculously large lead for Rapha as he took that final map 14-3.
Yeah, I think Psygib can definitely walk away feeling confident that he can get back into that final position, because I guess his other big opponents in Chain and Dehang haven't looked out of this world either, so there's absolutely no doubting his ability to overcome whichever one he comes up against next.